welcome back. So today's review is The Magic Fish by Trung Le Nguyen, uh, also known as Trungles. I'm just going to call him Trungles for the purpose of this review. Anyway, uh, phenomenal, just amazing book. It is. It's actually Trungles' debut graphic novel, and holy crap, is he good? He is a really good writer and artist. Um, so this is basically a story about communication. It's semi autobiographical. It draws on a lot from Trungle's own experiences. Uh, write what you know. So it's about a young Vietnamese American boy named Tien. I may mispronounce some of these names. I apologize. Uh, yeah, young Vietnamese American, second generation immigrant in the '90s, early '90s, uh, figuring out how to tell his parents that he is gay. So, but having trouble with it because his parents are first generation Vietnamese immigrants. Um, his mother was born shortly after the end of the Vietnam War, so I think, born in the post-war era. So she grew up in fairly complicated times in Vietnam, uh, and then immigrated to the U.S. She is still learning English herself, and Tien isn't sure of like the word for gay in Vietnamese. Like he doesn't know how to say it in Vietnamese, and he's not sure if his mother would understand the English word. And plus, early '90s, pretty scary time to be coming out. Obviously, really, really scary time to be coming out for a lot of people. Um, Especially someone who's, you know, especially an immigrant, really. Uh, a lot of the story is fairy tales, uh, because that's sort of the main way that the easiest way for Tien and his mother in particular to be able to communicate. It's his father's in the book, but mostly it's Tien and his mother are the main characters, and their relationship is really sort of the core of the book. And main way that they know how to communicate is stories. So they bond over fairy tales. Um, couple of couple of Cinderella stories and a Little Mermaid story. Um, there's one. I think one of the main ones is Tattercoat. I believe is the name of the fairy tale. Um, that one is bit of a long one. It's a eh, not quite Tatter. I suppose a bit of a variation on Tattercoats. But anyway, it's Cinderella type stories about you know women who are, or young women who sort of have to hide their identities and then meet and fall in love with princes. Um, they're really nice stories, and Trungles does really good retellings of them. Yeah, the first story is a Aller Allerley Rao seems to be sort of the main inspiration for that one. But really like that one, and then yeah, like I said, after that there's a Cinderella story, and then there's a Little Mermaid story. Um, One interesting thing about, and as a graphic novel, of course, art is very important. One interesting thing about the art, you may notice the three colors. Red signifies story being told in the present. Yellow signifies something in the past. Blue signifies that it's something in the part of a fairy tale, which really cool way of doing it, and leads to occasional sections where sections like this where the past and the fairy tales sort of start to blend out together a little bit, as the mother remembers fleeing Vietnam, or remembers just being in Vietnam at all in general. And the art is just like really nice art in general. Trunkles is a solid artist. I'm not getting very good ideas over here, but so yeah, just lots of really good art. Um, and like I said, phenomenal retellings of the story of the fairy tales. Love the retellings of the fairy tales. They're really good versions that he does, that Trungles does with them. Um, Meanwhile, of course, Trungle or Tian is hanging out with his friends, including the boy he has a massive crush on, and his lady friend who knows he has a massive crush and encourages him to tell the guy, but he's scared to. And yeah, it's just a beautiful story about trying to find the right ways to communicate when you don't really have the same language, when you don't really speak the same language, um, and the power of stories as a bridging language, as a language of its own. Um, Power of stories as a way of communicating. Another interesting thing about the fairy tale version, about the fairy tales that he does with the art. Uh, he adapts different styles or different aesthetics for each of the fairy tales. Um, okay. So yeah, yeah. So the the two Cinderella stories he picks. One's based on a German story, Aller Le Rau. Definitely getting that one wrong. I don't speak German at all. And Vietnamese tale, Tam Kam. Again, I am probably mispronouncing that. Um, so yeah, the visual style for that one is somewhat sort of pop culture, 90s pop culture sensibilities, Western pop culture sensibilities brought to it. So some little bit of Disney styling with the dresses and all that. Um, he actually did look at specific fashion from specific time periods for some of the fashion as well. Um, Tom Com, whatever, however it's pronounced. I apologize again. Like I said, I even if I looked at the pronunciation, I probably would have gotten it wrong. It's very much inspired by 1950s Vietnam, because it's sort of drawing from again the person telling that version of the story. So coming from post-war Vietnam or not post-war, actually yeah, not post-war, 50s Vietnam, so pre-war I guess Vietnam. And then third one, the Little Mermaid variation is draws a little bit of stuff from Wuxia, of all things, along with 80s San Francisco. So, yeah, like I said, it's he sort of did some interesting stuff with just the visual cues of each of the stories. Sort of the aesthetics, just based on who was telling and what sort of experiences they would have, what sort of cultural uh, sensibilities they would be bringing. Because yeah, somebody from 90s America, even being even being a Vietnamese heritage, it's gonna be Disney. Is like when you're telling fairy tales, when you think of fairy tales, it's gonna be Disney that you're thinking of. That's those that style of dress, of gowns, um, that style for castles and just and homes and in general. That's going to be what you see in your mind's eye. Uh, Somebody from 1950s Vietnam, yeah, they very well may see a lot of that very well may influence how they visualize uh, certain fairy tales. So yeah, it's just a lot of it is just sort of how people from different backgrounds are going to visualize these stories in their own ways. So it's really interesting the way that that's done. Um, yeah, it's like I said, the art is really good, really uh, evocative. There's solid emotional weight to the art. It looks simple, but it's got the emotional beats that you need, and yeah, it's a gorgeous story. Um, yeah, it's definitely like really really good. Really highly recommend this one. Um, not sure if he's written anything else yet. I think he's got other stuff. Yeah, he does. Yeah, he's got a couple other things out. He's actually done some like mainstream comic work. He apparently actually did an Adventure Time uh, comic. Um, that was back in 2018. Oh, I've been using he. Uh, Trungles is actually non-binary. Uses he they pronouns. So I've been using he. I totally didn't even look that up. So I've been using the he pronouns, which apparently is okay, but worth noting, yeah, he they. So either one, I guess, is going to work. Um, and yeah, absolutely somebody to look out for. Uh, Book won a couple Harvey Awards, which are pretty uh, pretty respectable. Harvey Awards are pretty notable awards in the comic book world. Uh, Selected as one of the best books of 2020 by both by the Globe and Mail, the New York Public Library, and the website Nerdist. Um, so yeah, it's a book that got tons and tons of praise when it came out. Um, and yeah, he is absolutely somebody to watch out for because he like this was his debut graphic novel. Not the first thing he'd ever like, not the first comic he'd written, but this is his debut graphic novel, and it's this damn good. Hell yeah, keep an eye out for Trungles. He's gonna go places. He's gonna be a big name. He already is. He's been known and respected in the comic book world for years and years, uh, just from his online presence, from social media. He's pretty active on there, and a lot of people, like him and respect him from because of that. Like a lot of people in the comic industry, like already know him and interact with him on there. But as a comic creator, he is definitely gonna be pretty. He's definitely gonna be successful. He's gonna be a big one if there's anything you want. Um, so yeah, very highly recommend The Magic Fish by Trung Le Nguyen. So next book I read, I'm probably going to do This one, history book, early Chinese empires, the Qin and Han. Um, I like history. So that'll probably be the next book I read. Um, if not that, either that or a Star Trek novel. we'll see which. We'll see which one I feel like reading more. But anyway, yeah, The Magic Fish by Trung Le Nguyen. Great book. Definitely give it a look. Definitely give it a read. And I will see you in another video. Thanks. Bye.